So that's with the fire chiefs, and we will be coordinating with the local fire station.
And will the fire safety equipment on this battery, will it be periodically tested to make sure it works? God forbid there's some kind of emergency.
Absolutely, we do have regular testing planned. Right.
What is the lifespan of that battery? Does it eventually stop and then it'll be replaced?
Sure, so it is a 10-year lifespan that it's rated for, and the intention at this point with our contract with Con Edison is that that would be the longest that we would have the battery there, and we would have this facility in place, and it would be removed after that 10 years.
So it's only going to be here for 10 years? Is that what you're saying?
That's the intention right
That's
now,
the
yes.
intention. Oh.
Yeah, and just like one or two more questions. One is, what is the security situation with this? Will it be properly secured? Are there cameras, guards? How are you securing this from vandalism or sabotage or an attack of some sort?
Well, if I could add to that, my background is in safety and security, and you mentioned that you have people monitoring. Well, you can have the best security system in the world, but unless you have someone properly monitoring it, so I don't know if this is appealing to a possible terrorist or something like that. How explosive is it, or how volatile is it? And would somebody see someone, whether it's graffiti or looking to use it as an improvised explosive?
Yeah, so to start with the monitoring, so we are going to be remotely monitoring on a 24-hour basis. That is something that we're required to do in our permitting agreement with FDNY and DOB. The system itself, it's also, to answer your question, I think you can see at this point over the past couple weeks it's now gated and there is barbed wire, so it will be locked up on a regular basis. And we're also, if there's graffiti or anything like that, that's something that will be caught, that should be caught the day of, because we are monitoring on a consistent basis. We also will be clearing, somebody will be going on site to clear the site of debris or any trash or anything like that. In terms of it being explosive, like I said, so it should be very difficult for somebody to enter the actual site based on the security that we've set up. It's like anything else. If somebody wanted to blow something up, they're going to figure out a way to do it. It's similar to other equipment that would be like a substation or anything else. There's inherent risks to everything. But I mean, like I said, we have fire suppression systems that will pick up on anything immediately and help to alleviate any type of fire or contingency
Yeah,
event.
one more.
You're talking about fire suppression. What kind of fire suppression systems do you have built in? Water, foam, halon? I mean, these all are
Sure, so
different impacts.
yeah, so there's water, and then there's also a coolant. It's called Novak. I'm not sure if you're familiar. That's also built in.
Yeah, just one more. Is the New York State Public Service Commission aware of this project, and have you gone to them, and the fact that it's right near a playground and a school within a few hundred feet among a residential area? Are they aware of this?
The New York Public Service Commission?
Yes.
So the New York Public Service Commission is part of the reason, they're definitely involved, and they're part of the reason why we're in, so they, I mean, Adrian, you might be able to speak more to this, so they're notified on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
so they are aware of the location. We
Okay.
actually have another much larger installation in Queens that's adjacent to both a school and a church. That is obviously a consideration when we work with the fire department. But seeing that I've gone around the country and looked at all the installations, the fire department of New York, much to my consternation, but for the benefit of everyone, has the strictest standards, more so than the national code. So that's why there's like 3 layers built in to the systems themselves, plus the remote monitoring. And so you really have, and tons of testing and modeling on it to see the farthest away that it could possibly impact anyone. And then we'll require defense around that.
Okay,
So
and-
there has been like 12 different testing, and the commission is quite comfortable with it, as well as the fire department,
Okay,
about those
and since you've
proximities.
seen some of these elsewhere in the country, has there ever been an incident regarding one of these things, an explosion or
So I
some
only look
other?
at utility batteries, and
Okay.
no, I've not seen one of
Okay.
those.
Thank
If
you.
I could just add,
Yeah.
Karina and I, a few weeks ago, met with the leadership of the school to
Okay.
talk about the battery storage and talking about, basically why was it going
Yeah.
there and addressing their concerns in terms of why this was happening. As a matter of fact, I think the PTA president was talking about the low voltage issues, and we talked about how this battery was going to address these issues to basically address concerns on the island. So therefore, the battery is going to make a significant impact in terms of improving the electric usage on the island. And the last time I was here, that was a major concern for the folks in the Civic Association. Like we said, we're not going back, we're going forward. And this battery containment station is going to be the norm throughout our city. And real estate is it's scarce in the city, and therefore we have to build it where we can build it in terms of the zoning. But Karina and I, we gave our information to the school, and if there's any concerns, debris, graffiti, anything that basically that the camera doesn't catch, or some other concern, we're definitely at a phone call. Obviously I'm at a phone call with Barbara, an email. But with the school, we'd definitely be addressing any concerns that they have going forward.
Billy's a fireman. Billy, you have a question?
And I understand you have different fire suppression systems, correct?
Correct.
So there is a possibility that there could be a fire, correct? If you have suppression systems?
Yeah,
Right? If it does go on fire, what kind of gas is gonna be off gas from this? Do we know if anything's hazardous that's gonna burn and like years ago it was PCBs, but I know you don't use them anymore, but what actually is gonna be put in the air if there is a fire? Worst case scenario, if everything fails and we have a fire, what's gonna be off gas?
Okay, Adrian, do you?
I don't remember the exact chemicals, so.
Well, that's very
No,
important.
no, let me finish. So we have built in, because we put them into the report with the fire department, we've built in ventilation systems to make sure that it doesn't be released if there is an incident.
The sprinkler hookup, you said there's a sprinkler hookup on it? Is that
The
away
flooding.
from it or is it right on the unit?
There's a remote hookup as well as flooding.
The remote unit is?
It's
the remote
inside
unit
the container.
is
Yeah.
on the container?
Yeah.
So a fireman will be exposed getting to that in order to
No,
hook
so
up
we've,
to it?
we've worked with the operational folks to make sure that they are comfortable with the distance at which they can hook up and flood the system.
But
It's
you don't
a-
know what chemicals will come off it, correct?
It would take, in a catastrophic failure, it would take hours for it to ever get that bad, and you would shut it down far beforehand. But the chemicals are something we consider. It's mostly hydrogen, to be honest. I remember that one being the most important.
I think the tension that you're feeling in the room is, you've already planted this thing here, and I think as a community, we would have appreciated it if you would have answered these questions before the lunar landing was on City Island Avenue.
That the local fire department would be involved.
So I have a question, because you said that you can place it there without notifying the community board or the community because it's zoned M1. So City Island has a lot of these lots that are privately owned. So in theory, you could place multiple versions of this on many different lots and never have to tell anybody? Or is there a limit beforehand? Or is there a limit to how many of these units can be placed side by side in one community? Or are there any limits to what somebody, what your company can do in an area? What are the limits?
So that's a really good question. I'm not aware of any zoning limits for battery storage. It is fairly new.
Right, well, City Island has special district zoning, and M1 is not used for absolutely everything. There's a whole bunch of things that are not allowed on City Island. And on February 1st, on Friday, city planning, the Bronx office is having a meeting about whether or not this thing should even be here. Now, it's here, we've got it, but if anybody wants to put another one here, I'm sure that that's gonna be a problem. Now, I don't know if you ever checked to see if you needed a special CO or anything like that.
So,
That guy is gonna rent you anything, so. He's had COs taken away from him in the past because of illegal uses on the property.
okay, did you have a question?
I did, and I'm not sure if this is for GI or for Con Ed. You mentioned earlier that the renewable energy sources that you're looking at are primarily solar and wind, right?
Yes.
Have you considered kinetic wave? Because this is a nautical community. It's a totally different question from what's been happening so far. Have you considered kinetic wave energy? Because my understanding is, I see your point about how the proximity here creates efficiency, so that less energy is wasted as opposed to having to transmit it over a distance. But my understanding is also that batteries have an efficiency rate. The most efficient is just a constant current, correct? You're not storing it; it's just being transmitted correctly.
So great question.
Yeah.
You used your engineering degree more
I'm
efficiently
a
than I did.
history degree, but
So I will say that kinetic energy does not have the round trip efficiency of lithium ion. And one of the things it doesn't have the scale for sure yet.
But it's constant, right?
It is and it isn't. So the issues that we've seen with kinetic wave energy is it creates a hazard for the marine life, and it constantly gets gummed up. So the O&M that you have to do on it, whereas you can plant this battery and it just
Low maintenance.
low maintenance, and will run safely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
What about any emissions that come from it?
there's not
So, it won't be a
just the
mini.
HVAC system. So regular HVAC.
It's the
same battery that's in your smartphone.
So, you in the back.
So the disclosure statement you put up was really very small, and the only part that I could read is that you're owned by Round Shell.
Weird.
Would it be possible to have that public disclosure statement that you're required to give shared with the Civic Association to share with the membership, because I'd like to take a look at it.
I can probably share
It's
that.
very small, I
Yeah,
can read
no
like the
problem.
first 4 words, so, and all I saw was Round Shell, and
Of course. Yeah, and
it's a little
just,
troubling.
just to clarify on that,
I'm sorry.
sure, so, I'll wrap up, but, my company is very recently, majority invested by Shell New Energies, which is their renewable division.
We can take 2 more questions.
Okay.
So just a quick question. You said that it was a 1 megawatt facility, gives 1,000 homes 1 hour of power?
Yes. The equivalent.
So, I think there's probably about 1,000 homes on City Island. So this battery would just give the whole island 1 hour of power, that's it?
So the intention of the way it would work is, so when Eric was talking about peak loads during the summer, it would be used to kind of level that down. So the 1,000 homes, that's the full electricity use of a home, but really we're aiming to level off some of the HVAC systems that are used primarily in the summer.
I see.
Teddy, you had a question?
Yeah. So, how does this, we all remember batteries that ooze all sorts of chemicals. Do these lithium-ion batteries have this potential? Is there any kind of containment system to prevent leaching into the ground and the groundwater and things like that?
So the systems are not, yes, they're contained in plastic modules within the racks that I showed you inside of the containers. These are tested batteries to not have the issues that you've mentioned. In fact, when we went through the third-party testing that I mentioned earlier, they actually, even if you try to light them on fire, there's not a liquid leakage. That it doesn't have an electrolyte like that.
And how long is your lease?
It is 5 years right now.
All right, we're gonna have to couch this because we are really burning on time. We would like to revisit this because we have many, many more questions. And we hope, and I just had a note, who did you notify in the FDNY? Who was notified?
So we've gone through the formal FDNY permitting process.
Do you have a name?
It's a number of people. I could definitely share.
Please.
So,
Thank you.
Right, all projects go through the Metro Tech Center.
We appreciate your time. Hopefully, we won't have any more surprises, and we reserve to ask a lot more questions, but we thank you. Let's give them a big hand. Okay, we're gonna start moving, because we still have a big agenda. Linda Baldwin, come on down, you're the next contestant. So folks, this is about the Gateway project, and we have a lot of different opinions, and we'll all be respectful of everybody else's opinions. So this will be good to address to the community. Linda? We have a mic for you.
Well, I'm sorry. Jesus.
No, it's alright, I got it.
You sure?
That's fine.
Plug it in.
Folks, we have pizza or Pia soda in between while if anybody wants a pizza break. Ready? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you good? You good?
Well, and I do want to call you. Okay.
All right, so I'll kill two birds with one stone while Linda's setting, while Linda's setting up. Linda, you give me the high sign when you're ready. I'll just speak to safety and security on City Island. There seems to be a new issue growing on City Island where we don't have, knock wood, alternate side of the street parking, but it's becoming apparent that people from off City Island are parking possibly their second and third car and just leaving them here. We have reason to believe that because we've had witnesses report to us how they see someone drop a car and then they jump into the car and then the car sits there for several weeks. And I've been getting pictures and reports of commercial vehicles staying out and there being weeks and months. So, come to us if you see that, and we've been working with the local NCO, Jessica, right?
Yeah, Jessica.
We've been working with Jessica and she's been doing a good job. Yes, ma'am?
So, my understanding is that unless the car is there for 7 days or more, that's not unlawful.
It's not unlawful, but we have cars there for months and sometimes years.
So call the cops.
311 and they'll mark your car
Yeah.
and they'll tow it.
Yes. Yep. 10-4. Also, a member sent me some pictures, and disturbing pictures. I don't feel comfortable giving the location away yet, but we now have drug use, people doing it in broad daylight. That's not a good sign. And this person that sent me the pictures did it out of compassion because they felt they were City Islanders, and the word to me was, can we get them help? And we should reach out to them and try and get them help. But my job is to target those drug dealers. So, as I've said repeatedly, one or two good entrepreneurial drug dealers on this island could wipe out our youth, when you think about it. And they've done a lot of damage to the youth on City Island. So if you feel comfortable going to the 4-5, we have a new commander, by the way, who I haven't met, but the deputy chief of the Bronx, Chief Green, is going to do a direct introduction. So we'll have him come down and introduce himself. Feel comfortable or going to Bronx Narcotics, or you come to me, as I've had many people do in private, and I keep your information private. And then we get to it and we look to intercede on those drug dealers because, one person overdosing is one too many in my opinion. Yes, sir.
What's the narcotic that was identified being used?
Well, they took pictures. They I have pictures.
No, is it cocaine, heroin?
I don't. The person took the picture from the car. They didn't ask them.
Okay.
They were snorting it off their hand.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
More than likely that's cocaine or heroin, but it's not pretty, and people are now becoming emboldened if they're doing it in broad daylight. That's not good for our community. It's definitely not good for them. So we welcome information or reporting it because we as a community need to fight that. And just in time, Linda, you ready? I'm running out of material. What?
Well, now all we have to do is get this projected.
Right.
So we have the projector projecting. So let's see. No, it's not connected.
What's the
Does
input?
anybody have a greater set of skills?
Yeah, I didn't, yeah.
You know, yeah.
What's the input?
No, it's usually every 2 or 3 years. Yeah, we lost Captain Gons. Captain Gons got a bump up. Usually, they rotate the commander out every 2 to 3 years. Every 2 to 3 years, they rotate the commander out. I was very happy with Captain Gons. And here we go. Saved by the bell.
Oh, thank you. All right. Hi, good evening, everyone, and I'm sorry it's so late. But when I was invited to come talk to you about this project, I was very excited because we've been working on it for many years. And lately, there's been a lot of enthusiasm generated about it because the bridge construction is now complete. So we thought it was a good opportunity to come and reacquaint the Civic Association and anybody else who wanted to join about this project. So first, this is a depiction of the city-owned portion of the lot, which is to the far right, including the building. The pier is not city-owned and won't really be the focus of the conversation today, but this was Francine, I've forgotten her last name.
Alhide.
Thank you. So this was a beautiful a watercolor drawing that she did for us. Thank you. Can you do that for me? Yes. Oh, wonderful. So this is actually not for you all because everybody knows